What is up, everybody? We are here with Tortora and
Alford.
hanging out with you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora's special Tortora and Alford broadcast. And we, of course, are with you for the 2024-25 Syracuse Orange Football season. And it is our pregame show for the Ohio Bobcats at the Syracuse Orange. It is Fran Brown's first ever game as a head coach, and it's his first game as the leader of the Orange.
Yep.
So once again, Tortora and Alford here with you for the Ohio at Syracuse Football pregame show. Tortora and Alford, a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And we are here tonight thanks to Get Smashed.
Oh, wow.
We got smash burgers that we're going to be eating during the show thanks to Get Smashed. So shout out to the crew.
This is a burger, man.
I'm not even going to wait.
You ain't gonna wait?
No. So,
Wow.
nobody does a smash burger
That's good.
like Get Smashed. I don't put anything on it. It's whatever Pete put on it, whatever he seasoned the burger with, the cheese. I got no ketchup, no mustard, no secret sauce, no nothing. It's literally whatever he seasoned.
Meat and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
What a good combination.
So big time shout out to the team over at Get Smashed in Syracuse. They work out of the Mother's Cupboard Kitchen. So awesome, awesome food. So good. And I got nothing but love for them. This is Isaac's first time trying it, right?
Yeah, correct. And definitely not last.
Yeah. I tried them I think the first weekend that they opened, I got some. So I just absolutely am a big fan. So I want to shout them out because they got us fed right here for this broadcast that we're going to bring you. And I want to just say thank you once again to Get Smashed and all that y'all do. So big time shout out to the team over there. And yeah, just can't thank them enough for the work that they've done. For Ryan and Pete, we appreciate you. And now it's time to talk about Ohio at Syracuse. So you are with us on our normal channels that Wake Up Call is on. So on Facebook.com and YouTube.com, both /Wake Up Call DT is how you're getting us right now, which is also where you can watch and listen to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /Wake Up Call DT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the show, we appreciate you and thank you for being here with us where sports truly meets that thing called life. So, Mr. Alford, where would you like to start in this game that we have Syracuse's first game of the 2024-25 season and first of the Fran Brown era?
As you say, it's a lot of firsts. There's a lot of new things going on the hill. You can start, we can say, new roster, new coaching staff, new and improved dome. So, I mean, there's a lot of new things that's going on this weekend. It's definitely a change in what we're going to see from previous coaching staffs, what they've done with this university, and game day experience for the crowd.
Yep.
So definitely it's a lot of, if you hadn't known, just come out to the game, you're going to see a lot of new and improved things that they've done over the off season. So definitely going to be an opportunity to soak all that in. New traditions being made.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a lot of things going on with this game.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I want to kind of let y'all know about of what's happening here. And so there is going to be, there's a bunch of pieces we're going to get into here. There's going to be new amenities in the JMA Wireless Dome. There's going to be new chair back seating. So you're not going to be sitting on that just hard metal bleacher where your butt would fall asleep. You now have chair back seating to help you out a little bit here on a multi-year renovation. And there's also going to be some other changes that are coming in, and those changes are going to include that the individual seating sections won't be will no longer split across the aisle. Fans looking for their seats can use signage at the top of each section, or you can use a touch screen map station, which is in the concourse, and there's also maps on Cuse.com. Concessions, now instead of paying $72 for a burger, you can pay. But no, this is what it is now. So the 100 level concourse will feature 2 revamped cocktail stands, and they're going to be located close to the 50-yard line, the 100 level. There's going to be a new family-friendly meal deal, which is 4 hot dogs, 4 beverages, soda or water, and 2 popcorn boxes for just $44, a 13% discount. Now, keep in mind, Dome Dogs used to be $1. So if you got 4 Dome Dogs, $4, 4 beverages, let's call them $2, so that's $8. So that's 8 plus 4 is $12, and 2 popcorn, let's say you charge $3 a piece for the popcorn, that would have been $18. But they're now saying that putting all that together is a 13% discount. So the under $20 meal is now going to be a 13% discount for $44, which sounds like the current regime in the White House saying, well, we got inflation down from 9 to 3. And you're like, yeah, but it's still higher than 1.9, baby.
I like what they did. See, I just realized that when you said that 44, are they trying to trick us with this 44?
Yeah, they want you because they want you to go.
Everything's 44. Come on.
Yeah, they want you to be like, hey, it's a discount. It's $44, and people are like $44, and they're like, yeah, but remember Ernie Davis?
It's 44. Yeah, exactly.
Remember Floyd Little? Y'all like
it's
Jim
the
Brown?
Tradition of 44. Oh, come on.
Yeah, because
we're going a little too far with the 44.
Well, this is the thing. So it's a 13% discount, which means that to get 4 hot dogs, 4 beverages, and 2 popcorn last year was around $50.
Okay.
Nothing like trying to spin inflation and call it a discount. All I'm saying is I feel like this came from the White House, but not from the Dome. But
it should be 14, not 44.
Dome Dogs $1. I mean, I'm counting $18 here. I don't know how they got to 44 as a 13% discount, but all right.
Sneaky 44.
The meal deal is also available at 6 different locations: the Tomato Wheel and Dome Dog locations in the 100 level, and both 50-yard line concession stands in the upper concourse. There will be no price increase for the 3rd straight season to Dome staples such as hot dogs and popcorn. Plus, fans will see the return of the J&J Super Pretzel. I love how they said there's not going to be an increase from the last 3 years. That's because they increased it 3 years ago.
Did it when you wasn't looking.
Yeah. Oh, welcome back from COVID.
Exactly.
Everything's $25 more. Navigation enhancement. An upgraded navigation option is available to get to the Dome. Syracuse University will utilize the Waze app to provide traffic updates on the routes around the venue. Fans are encouraged to download the app and use it for the quickest route. Don't forget to make your way to the quad for the NYE Auto Quad Walk. An important addition to game day, head coach Fran Brown and the Orange will arrive 2 hours and 15 minutes. Should be 3:15 because we're 3:15. But 2 hours and 15 minutes prior to each game, make their way across the quad in front of Hendricks Chapel before entering the Dome. For fans with parking in the Lally or Skytop lots, a limited bus service will begin 3 hours prior to kickoff to get you to the quad, with the full fleet service beginning 2 hours before kick. Fans utilizing the rideshare apps to visit the Dome will have a designated drop-off and pick-off location and pick-up location at the Newhouse Circle, which can be accessed at the corner of Waverly and Krause Drive. If you're joining Isaac and I from where our walk starts, we're starting from the quad at Rutgers.
Way out there. We need a shuttle just to get to the shuttle.
Oh, yeah. If anybody would like to shuttle us up to the quad walk, we would appreciate that. Now, students, the relocation of the hidden level student section to the end zone will provide a greater opportunity to impact the game. As part of that, Syracuse will have student giveaways for every game. So a relocation of the hidden level student section. And then outside of that, a reminder that it is a cashless venue at all points of sale, including the box office, concessions, and merchandise stands. Additionally, the clear bag policy implemented in 2018 is still in effect, and mobile ticketing is still the only way to get into the building. So you have to download and scan your tickets.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they've done with the student section now that they moved them to the east end zone now, I think it is. So, and that's the same side of the building that they're doing the renovations for the new entrance, connecting it to the Ultra Ball. So it's going to kind of help the students work their way into directly to their seats. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how well the students fill up those sections and stuff.
So we got some messages here. Cuse is in the house, which is the sign that's right over my shoulder here. Now we can fall asleep in comfort. We'll be in attendance for the Stanford game and Holy Cross.
Cool.
Looking forward to seeing the new renovations. Haven't been there since the COVID and the renovations. Yes, there is a family pack check. It is now $44. So they have
just 44.
Yeah, so they've now overpriced your ability to enjoy the number 44. I'm seeing 8-4 in fourth place in the ACC.
I like 5 better. Donovan's number.
Oh yeah.
Let's go to 5.
What can I have for $5? I'm gonna get 5 dome dogs for $5. Is the Donovan rule. Hit you in the feels and the wallet. And so big test is week 2 against Georgia Tech. Hello to everybody that's out there watching. We got a bunch of messages coming in. Waze app is good. I used it when I delivered during COVID. Hello, Dan and Alford. So we got that. And then some of these popped in here a couple times. So we appreciate y'all for being here and for sending us messages. If you have any thoughts on the game, if you want to know what our thoughts are on certain areas of the game, feel free to send them in while you're watching. As you're watching here live, we would be more than happy to answer your questions as we do our Ohio at Syracuse football pregame show. Located off camera, if you see us look down, is Lily, who is currently looking down, hoping that we drop some of our smash burger. So
very patient.
Yeah, Lily is trying her darndest to do this. She's doing her best impression at stare at the wall, but she's staring at the ground. I was like, don't do that. Don't bring me back there. So, thoughts going into the season, Mr. Alford?
You know, we've talked about how we thought Fran has built this roster up from last year. You know, a lot of transfers coming in. I tell you, just me personally, just seeing the fall practice and from spring, you know, just the size of the players and then how well the strength and conditioning coaches put in time over the summer with the guys and coming in early when the spring happened. So, I mean, the body types are different. You know, the players' skill level, some of the new freshmen. You know, if you haven't taken a look at the roster just yet, look at some of the young linebackers that are on the roster. Some of the wide receivers, tight ends that coming in. You know, some of these guys, you know, they probably had to be in the program for maybe like 2 or 3 years to get at the weight and size that we're seeing right now. But, you know, that just tell you how well Fran has kind of took a look at the roster and said, okay, this is what we need to focus on. This is how we're going to get better as a team. I need bigger guys in the trenches.
Yeah.
And, you know, I need speed in the skill position. So I'm just looking forward to seeing how well they mesh. And, you know, Coach Nixon, he's been around, you know, college football for a few years and in the pros. So
20 plus years in the pros.
Yeah. So, and then Fran even talks about it, you know, his coaching staff has a lot of coaching experience. You know, he might be a first-year head coach, but there's a lot of men in that room that come with many years of experience and knowledge of the game.
Surround yourself with people that challenge you to be better.
Exactly. And he said he's not afraid to learn. So that's, you know, you take that and we're going to see how well they put it together. And I know they're ready to get to this game. You know, and the opponent, you know, I think Ohio is going to give them a good test, you know.
Yeah.
The coach has been there for a while, you know, what we said, like 20-something years. So, you know, everything's there for Syracuse to come out and kind of put their best feet forward and kind of show the crowd and the fans and everybody that, hey, you know, this is the new standard. You know, they talk about dart. So, you know, this is the time that we're all going to see all that work in the all season that come together. And, you know, now we're going to see what the beginning, because this is not the end.
Yeah.
This is just the start of the product on what they're going to display on the field. So.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this is the opportunity to finally see what we've been hearing about.
Mm-hmm.
that's the big piece is through the, Fran gets the job, and then through the spring, it's about guys coming in and Fran working with these guys and the coaching staff working with them, and and then going through the summer and the fall and getting to see, and I just had somebody ask me earlier today, what can you tell from this roster? I said, I can tell that guys' bodies who returned are different.
Mm-hmm.
They're lean, they've dropped body fat, they've gained muscle. Some of them look taller.
Mm-hmm.
Demetrius Weatherspoon is tall. And then Savion Washington is
skyscraper.
Yeah, he's 8'2", and I mean he's just huge, number 77. And I mean, so I think the biggest thing is I'm seeing bigger offensive linemen that typically weren't coming to Syracuse. I'm seeing a LaQuint Allen who could potentially be the most dangerous he's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a quiet Aronde Gadsden that I think is going to let his game speak for itself. A Dan Villari that is hungry, and he actually took the words out of my mouth in the extensive conversation that we did together when I was going to ask him, what's it going to be like to have you and Aronde on the field at the same time? And he actually said, in response to one of my other questions, he goes, Aronde and I out there? He's like, whew, like, what are you going to do?
You're right.
So there's that side. It happened, what we were talking about, my prediction of Trevor Pena being the main returner, and right behind him, true freshman Malachi James. So, and he's a guy that you're really excited about. Yeah. First time I heard Malachi James' name was out of Isaac's mouth. And then I've heard it from the coaches. I have heard it from LaQuint Allen. Guys are really excited about him. And James Milano, the special teams coordinator, he was talking about him as well.
Right.
So that's another piece to it. But yeah, I mean, when people are talking about what are your thoughts, we didn't get to see scrimmages. So I would have loved to see a scrimmage. Would have loved to see Syracuse offense, the 1v1s scrimmaging against each other. We didn't get to see that in camp. We did get to see these kind of quick play things where quarterback comes out with their group, runs 4 plays, and then so they run onto the field, run 4 plays, run off the field, kind of like a 2-minute drill type of thing, really quick. And so we did get to see that. But, you got to see some catches in that respect. It's some guys running and whatnot. But I liked on the last day of practice that they had like running backs and linebackers. So the running backs are running these plays and the linebackers have to hit them in the field and stuff. So I thought that was cool to see these individual drills take one unit and another unit, and instead of having an individual drill, that they have running backs, linebackers, and involve some people together. Great to see Fran working with the team. Great to see him physically like he was in the drill, a DB coming to him and he's putting his back on the DB, talking in their ear and working with the DBs a lot and working with the team a lot, which was great to see a coach that was really involved. And you heard from the coaching staff from the players, I think it was Kyle McCord, who said, here we are at the end of practice. Practice been over for a half an hour and Fran's still out there running drills with guys. So I think seeing Fran's involvement, guys physically looking different, and then bringing guys in, especially on the offensive line, that are just massive. And, that's what I saw was the difference was the size of the guys, the build of the guys that were returning, and then seeing Fran's involvement.
Yeah, and then you speak of Kyle, I'm going to go back to the spring game and just how efficient that team ran when he came in. And it was seeing Pena go over the middle. How many times we've talked about, how to attack a defense, try to get a pass over the middle, and you see Trevor catching these passes, and something that in the past maybe it was because of health reasons he didn't really get his opportunity, but I'm looking for a big year out of him. Every time I see a clip, it's either him on an out route or something, and then you see Kyle throw a nice pass over the shoulder catch to him. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to, is seeing how well Kyle runs this offense, because we've had those opportunities where we had a quarterback and then things happen, so that's the most important thing for us, is to keep him healthy. We got to kind of keep him upright and as in many a game as possible. I mean, we got some backups behind him, but it's nothing like having that experience. He's coming from the Big Ten where he's played on the big stage, so this is nothing new to him. But you can see he's encouraging his other teammates, even in practice, showing them the way of how to do it, and Fran talks about it all the time. Fran mentions that, he's like another coach on the field. So that's another thing I'm really looking forward to see how well he executes. And things going to happen, mistakes happen. I mean, maybe the defense of Ohio can disguise some things. You never know. But again, it's all a learning process, and I like how Kyle, you can see in practice how he's teaching even the chemistry between him and the receivers, what he likes, what they like to do, and type things. So, definitely it's going to be interesting to see how well the offense execute.
See, when you talk, I eat my smash burger from Get Smash here in Syracuse. Shout out Pete and Ryan. When I talk, you ain't eating your burger. I was like, I got to teach this man.
I'm savoring it.
It's so good. The bun is good, too. So, we got, what are our impressions of Kyle McCord? That he's a leader.
Yeah.
That he is somebody who has gained respect. When I talk to these guys about him, they're like, man, his arm, the way he can get the ball down the field. Syracuse, under Garrett Schrader, they had a running quarterback that was throwing. Eric Dungy, a running quarterback that was throwing. And so, like you said, the plays, the opportunities that were down the field that didn't matriculate, maybe that can change now.
Right.
You got a guy at Ohio State, and again, a misconception that people have when I talk about Ohio State and Michigan and Notre Dame having an unfair advantage. That's not me saying that they're not talented. That's not me saying that the Big Ten doesn't have competition or that these guys aren't NFL caliber, which they obviously are, a lot of them. So Kyle McCord, for me, to have a guy come from Ohio State and go to Syracuse, that's unheard of in today's day and age. And him coming here after a year of playing at Ohio State as a starter, now we have an opportunity to see, what does this guy look like? Because Syracuse has had the running quarterback, and now you have a quarterback that is going to pass first. But Fran also said, I want to see the Kyle McCord. I want to see the kid Kyle McCord on the playground.
Right.
And I think what he meant by that was he wants him to be able to move around.
Right, exactly. And I was going to say that. It's funny that you mentioned that, but and then it's, you got to pick your spots when you do that.
Yeah.
He's a better weapon when he gets the ball out of his hand and find the other guys that's going to make the plays for him. But LeQuint, you mentioned LeQuint too. He's definitely going to be somebody. I like that he's put on a little bit more weight. Yeah. And he seemed explosive to me in the spring. So whatever they was doing in the spring, if they continue that and they build upon that and up into the fall, because there were some holes in the spring game. And I was like, man, when was the last time we seen the running back take it straight up the middle, 40 yards to a touchdown, So,
holes created by the offensive line. Holes in your pocket created by the Syracuse new $44 deal.
There's holes everywhere. But, that's just...
These holes ain't loyal.
That's just, that's what we can expect, hopefully, for this offense, And the good thing about it, what you just mentioned with Kyle and passing the ball, defense is going to have to take either the run away or you're going to sit back and try to make them Kyle read the defense, one of the two.
Well, and that's the thing. Kyle doesn't have to run.
Right.
You got LeQuint Allen. People forget. Will Nixon, the son of Jeff Nixon, the offensive coordinator, Will Nixon spent last season with the Washington Huskies and Michael Penix Jr. So, hello. You know what I mean? It's like you got him, you got LeQuint, you got Malachi James, you got Yassine Willis. And I know people out here throwing shade. I'm not going to throw no shade to Pittsburgh. Not going to throw no shade. Because if I throw shade, then it comes like when I don't talk trash.
Exactly. We
my
just
thing,
happy.
my thing with Yassine is I'm happy he's here.
Exactly.
I hope the best for Pitt. I'm a fan of Pat Narduzzi. I like Pat Narduzzi. So the Doozer knows. And whoever, does his suits, his like blue with the pinstripe and the shoes that he had, I don't know who's working out his suits. I want to say, I don't know the name of the person working out his suits, or maybe I do and I won't tell you because that man's making mob suits. That guy's making underground New York City suits. He's making Utica, New York suits.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. He's making some good suits. And by the way, card-carrying Italian and Hispanic, so any of my words and jokes and whatnot to the mob, we good. Yes. We very good. So on a scale from 1 to 10, where do we think this year's schedule rates? Well, it's considered last time I checked, the 68th toughest schedule in the nation of 134.
Right.
So in the middle.
Yeah, I think it's a fair schedule. Like I said, when we made our predictions on our last show, I said I could see 8-4, and with good fortunes, I could see 10-2. You know, so
yeah, I've been seeing 8-4, 9-3.
Yeah.
Outside shot at 10-2.
Right.
But you're not playing Louisville. Jeff Brown did an incredible job last year, 10-4. You're not playing Florida State. You're not playing Clemson. You're not playing SMU. I know they had rough go against Nevada, but you're not playing SMU. There's a lot of teams you don't have to worry about.
Right.
And they're not playing North Carolina.
Right.
So or Duke, who's got Manny Diaz now.
Yeah. And they got a good, transfer quarterback there too. So it's gonna be interesting. I think the schedule lays out pretty decent for the squad.
Yeah.
But you can't take anybody lightly. That's what I like about Fran when they asked him Monday about Ohio, and he said we're not going to take anybody lightly. He said, hey, they won 10 games last year, and that was better than what we did. So who are we to say?
He goes, when's the last time Syracuse won back-to-back, back-to-back 10-win seasons? It hasn't happened in a while.
So they're going to always respect the opponent. So, but no, I think the schedule lays out favorably for them, and again, like what's the old model is just take it one game at a time.
Yeah. They call it coach speak, but it's reality.
Yeah.
In life, if you look ahead, then you're not enjoying what's in front of you, and you're not putting your emphasis on it. Right? If you look, if you stare at a wall hoping to see through it.
You're not going anywhere.
You're just staring at a wall. But the reality is, they call it coach speak. But if I was a head coach and they asked me about Stanford or Georgia Tech, I would say, what about Ohio? I mean, I'm not going to disrespect my opponent.
Right. Because sometimes it could be the other team's Super Bowl. They want to come into your house.
Oh, like Liberty.
Yeah.
Liberty doing snow angels at the Dome.
Yeah, so there's always, and as Fran says, he don't want to be the hunted. Right. He want to be the hunter. So hey, I think they're going to come in with the right attitude, and hopefully they execute well enough, and maybe we can see some other players get some opportunity to get on the field. But if they don't, then, hey, they're going to keep those starters out there, and they're going to grind it out.
Yeah.
So
now, Syracuse has played Ohio, the Bobcats of the MAC, the Mid-American Conference, 3 times. They play. This is the first time second time that they'll play them in September. They play them twice in October, once in September. First game was Saturday, October 7th, 1916 in Syracuse. Syracuse won 73-0. Saturday, October 1st, 1921. Syracuse won in Syracuse, New York, 38-0. And so they had only played
100 years.
So then 100 years later, 100 years, almost a calendar 100 years later, on Saturday, September 4th, Syracuse, the last time they played them was in 2021 under Dino. That was the only time they played them in Ohio, in Athens, Ohio. Played them visiting the Bobcats. They won 29-9. So this is only the 4th time they've ever played each other. Syracuse is 3-0, and this will be the 3rd time that Syracuse is in Syracuse, and the first time that Syracuse has played the Ohio Bobcats in Syracuse in over 100 years.
Wow, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and you know what? I think they're going to come in here ready to go. I mean, the coach spoke highly of the team. He gave Fran a lot of credit for building this roster up, and they're going to come in and they're not going to shy away. So, and I be honest with you, I looked at their roster too, and I mean, I know I mentioned it earlier about Syracuse. Look at some of the freshmen we brought in and the size. If you took a look at the Ohio roster, I mean, they got some receivers that are 6'2", 213, and these are not some little guys that's coming in here. So
Yeah, these guys are looking for opportunity, just like I'll be doing with Isaac Smashburger since I
no,
finished
you
mine.
won't. Get that out your mind.
Come on. So Tim Albin, the head coach of the Ohio Bobcats, he's in his 20th season at Ohio, only his 4th season as the head coach, but he's been there for 16 years prior to that. His alma mater is Northwestern and Oklahoma State, and his record at Ohio, 23-16. Record in the MAC is 16-8 is what he looks like here. And taking a look, like you said, at how this team kind of stacks up, the Ohio Bobcats last season, their scoring, they scored 316 points to 206 from their opponent, so outscored their opponent by over 100 points throughout the season. Points per game, 24.3. They only allowed 15.8, which is a little over 2 touchdowns. Points off of turnovers, Ohio had 82 to their opponent's 30. 272 first downs to 186 allowed. They had 114 rushing first downs, 127 passing first downs, 31 first downs by penalty. And then rushing yards, they had almost 2,000 rushing yards, 1,877 to 1,185 allowed. They averaged 144.4 rushing yards a game to 91.2. Touchdowns rushing doubled what they allowed, 18-9. Passing yardage last year for Ohio, 2,647 to 2,376. They had 203.6 passing yards a game to 182.8. So these are a lot closer than the rushing. Touchdowns passing, 16 last year. They allowed 14. So their defensive backs and their defense didn't do that well as far as what they did offensively. They allowed almost the same defensively. And then beyond that, penalties, they averaged 51.8 penalty yards a game to 60.5. And their third down conversion, they were 46%, almost 50% on third down, 84 of 184. They allowed their opponents 30%. So huge there. And they were 8 for 16, 50% on fourth down. So two big things to look at here. Third down percentage last season, 46% efficiency, allowed 30% efficiency. And on fourth down, they were 50% efficient.
Yeah.
That's big.
And then they bring back a dual threat quarterback this year. So we've always played in this conference, we've always had our share of dual threat quarterbacks. So it's going to be interesting to see how we attack that. I was just thinking about that this morning. I was like, maybe under the previous D coordinators, we had that recipe where we stopped Malik Cunningham and on those guys like that was the running quarterbacks and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see how Coach Robinson handles it and what's his philosophy as far as attacking, a running style quarterback.
Yeah, and looking at their roster, their quarterback that we're talking about here is Parker Navarro, who played last year a little bit. He did come from UCF. So Parker Navarro was originally at UCF, which is ironic because Thomas Castellanos, who Syracuse will face later in the season from Boston College, started at UCF as well. So Parker Navarro coming from UCF and then on to the Ohio Bobcats. They are bringing in They got a bunch of guys out here, wide receiver. They have Chase Hendricks, who is a sophomore. They have Coleman Owen, who's a graduate. Iman Dennis, who's a graduate. They have a redshirt junior, Bryce Butler. And then at tight end, they have a redshirt freshman, Mason Williams. So young at tight end. Ricky Hunt Jr., redshirt freshman at running back, so some youth there. And then on their offensive line, they have a redshirt senior at left tackle and Carson Heidecker, a redshirt junior, Davian Weatherspoon, which is close to Demetrius Weatherspoon, kind of funny there, at left guard, who's a redshirt junior. Their center, Parker Titsworth, is a graduate. Christoph Atkinson is a graduate at right guard and a redshirt senior at right tackle. Jacob Dennison. So they got a lot of veteran. It's all veteran. The youngest is a redshirt junior, and you got 2 graduates, 2 redshirt seniors on your offensive line.
Yeah, so they coming in with some experience. Now those guys, how well they gel together, the chemistry they built up over the offseason, we'll find out.
Yeah. So, and then on the defensive line, they have Bradley Weaver at defensive end, who is a redshirt junior. Casey Seeger is also a redshirt junior. On the interior, we have nose tackle CJ Doggett, and he's a redshirt sophomore, and Braylon Henderson, a redshirt junior at defensive tackle. And then when we look at their linebackers, we're looking at their Mike Shea Taylor, a redshirt junior, and at their Will Blake Leak, a graduate, and then nickel Jeremiah Wood, a graduate. And then when we look at their DBs, we're looking at redshirt senior, junior, senior, junior. So you got Tank Pearson, you got Austin Brawley, you have Adonis Williams Jr. and Roman Perotti. So I mean, looking through their offense and defense, a lot of these guys are redshirt juniors, redshirt seniors, juniors, seniors, grad students, and I mean, you got a few that are redshirt sophomores and redshirt freshmen, like their tight end, like I said, a redshirt freshman, and their running back, a redshirt freshman as well. But beyond that, but they also have Anthony Tyus III at running back, who is a graduate student. So the majority of their team that I'm reading off their depth chart here, and they're 1 to 2 deep, is redshirt senior, redshirt junior, junior, senior, grad.
Right.
So a lot of guys that have been around the block.
Yeah, a lot of guys that have been in college for a little bit, been around the program. So, they're going to have mature style players out there that's, not going to be afraid for contact, So, Syracuse is going to have to be a very physical defense with these guys. And, it's a battle of the wheels, Who's really going to break first? So we're going to get a good test, and I like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a good test for the Orange as they get set for this upcoming game that is going to be inside of the Dome. Now, the Bobcats, like we told you, finished last year 10-3 overall, 6-2 in the MAC. And we talked about what they averaged passing and rushing, over 140 yards rushing and 24.31 points per game. Now, Parker Navarro went 18 for 26, 185 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception in 6 games. So he wasn't the main guy.
Right.
This is the first season where he's the main guy at quarterback. And he had 25 carries for 178 yards. The grad student recorded the longest rush for the Bobcats that season with a 52-yard rush against Kent State and made his first college start at the 2023 Myrtle Beach Bowl. So he's coming off of his first start.
Right.
Going into this. So he did not start a single game last year in the regular season. His first start was in the 2023 Myrtle Beach Bowl. And we have, looking at Nick Poulos, who is the transfer quarterback, who's also coming in here. And then Ricky Hunt Jr., looking at what he's done, he had in the bowl game scoring his first 5 collegiate touchdowns. Hunt recorded 23 attempts and 4 touchdowns on 128 rushing yards. So looking at Ricky Hunt Jr., 5 touchdowns in the bowl game, which is insane. And then Nolan McCormick is returning for his 4th year with Ohio. He had 11 carries on 40 yards. Running back Anthony Tyus III, who I mentioned, joined the Bobcats for the 2024 season after coming from Northwestern, which is where their head coach had spent time himself going through school. And then I'll let Isaac talk about some of the returning wide receivers.
And you just look at the tight end position, Mason Williams, Chase Hendricks, those guys are, they came on last year. And who else? We got Bryce Butler, that's another guy, Rodney Harris, second, and then they brought in some good transfers, Coleman Owens, Amon Dennis, and also, like you mentioned, Jake Bruno.
And Coleman Owen is already on the number 1 on the depth chart, and he's followed by Amon Dennis.
Yeah. So these guys, they bring in some experience to the team to kind of mesh with what they was doing last year. And I know we kind of say that, the quarterback is dual threat, but you still don't give up on, what he can do with his arms. So I like the mix that they've kind of put their roster together with here.
Yeah, and looking at what we have here defensively, as we had made mention, looking at some of the guys here, safety Austin Brawley, defensive end Bradley Weaver helped the team last season. And looking at Weaver, second on the team in quarterback hurries with 7. Brawley was one of 3 Bobcats to have 2 interceptions on the season. And then they have safety Jeremiah Wood coming back, Adonis Williams Jr., defensive tackle Braylon Henderson, linebacker Shea Taylor, quarterback Tank Pearson, and transfers defensive end Ben McNabo, I think maybe, who played. My apologies on that. There is a pronunciation guide that I probably should have done before I talked about Ben there, who's played at both North Dakota and Minnesota, and linebacker Blake Leak, who was at Bucknell, and then you have Gianni Spektic. Nothing like having the name like Spektic or Spectrum or something like that with a kicker. So kicker Gianni Spektic, 18 for 26 on field goals and 33 for 34 on extra points. And then you have kicker Alex Cassie, who finished the season 1 for 2 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points, and has accumulated 3,769 yards in 76 kickoffs. And then punter Jack Wilson, also returning, and hits 29 punts in 2023, 8 past the 50-yard mark, with his longest clocking in at 58 yards. And then Ricky Hunt Jr., as we talked about, what we were saying here, Ohio and NCAA history with his performance in the 41-21 victory over Georgia Southern in the 2023 Myrtle Beach Bowl. He was a true freshman at the time, 5 collegiate touchdowns, tying the NCAA record for touchdowns scored in a bowl game. I want to say Tajay Spears, who I watched a couple years ago against Caleb Williams and the USC Trojans for the Tulane Green Wave. I think he had at least 4 touchdowns in that game. And then seeing that Ricky Hunt Jr. set the program record for most touchdowns scored in a game with 5, and also marks the most touchdowns a Bobcat scored in a bowl game since Dorian Brown in the Bahamas Bowl, where he had 4, and Ricky Hunt Jr. for what he did, setting NCAA and Ohio Bobcat history in the 2023 Myrtle Beach Bowl. He was named the MVP.
Yeah, so definitely, there we go. So one key piece for them is going to be Hunt. And then watching, what kind of, are they going to be like read action, play action off of him?
Yeah.
So there's definitely going to have to keep a good mental, know where he's at all times where they're playing those tricks in the backfield with the ball and stuff like that. So definitely going to be a good challenge. For a freshman like that to come off a big game like that, hey.
And that was his last game that he played.
Yeah, so,
So your first 5 touchdowns ever in college didn't come over a span of 5 games, 3 games. They came all in one game, and it just so happened to be the last game he played.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about bowls these days now is like a lot of some of the upperclassmen guys that are looking to go to the next level, they kind of opt out of the bowls, and that gives the opportunity for those younger guys. And you may not have a lot of film on those guys.
Yeah, because he was a true freshman at the time.
So you might not know what the capabilities is. And then, you get those big surprises. They're kind of like LeQuint in the bowl game. He had like 11 catches a couple of years ago. That was kind of like his breakout party in the bowl. So, yeah.
And looking at Parker Navarro, their quarterback in that bowl game in the Myrtle Beach Bowl on December 16th of last year, he had 120 yards passing and 71 yards rushing. So looking at what he did there. Now, the captains, there's 6 of them for the Ohio Bobcats this season. Grad student quarterback Parker Navarro, grad student wide receiver Coleman Owen, grad student offensive lineman Parker Titsworth, redshirt junior defensive end Bradley Weaver, junior safety Adonis Williams Jr., and grad student safety Jeremiah Wood. So again, reading through this, junior, redshirt junior, grad student, grad student, on and on here. So
yeah, these are, it's not a young team. I mean, they got some experience to them. So maybe from different programs, but you know what? Sometimes that's a good thing to have some experience on your team to kind of show the younger guys the way forward. So it's going to be a good challenge. I like that.
I said Ben's name right the second time, McNabo. So that is, and then Iman, we had Iman Dennis for you, and Nick Paulus is for Nick. I said Poulos, so Nick Paula. So
Mm-hmm.
my apologies on that. I appreciate when people say my name right. So I want to make sure that we do that for people that we're talking about here on Tortora and Alford inside a wake-up call as we are doing our Ohio at Syracuse football pregame broadcast. We'll take a look at the other depth chart that came out. Syracuse, here are the changes. So I'll tell you, I'll go through here on what's changed and what's stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback has obviously changed because Garrett Schrader is gone. So the first two names that you see on this weren't there last year.
Yeah.
Kyle McCord via Ohio State, and Michael Johnson Jr., son of Michael Johnson Sr., who is the co-OC of Syracuse and the tight ends coach. One of the guys carried over from the staff from last year. A lot of new faces. He stayed, and Nunzio Campanelli stayed. And so Michael Johnson Jr. come from FAU, and then Carlos Del Rio Wilson is back for Syracuse. Believe it or not, Carlos Del Rio Wilson is the only returning quarterback on Syracuse's roster. So Kyle McCord, followed by Michael Johnson Jr. or Carlos Del Rio Wilson. We'll stop there for a second. Obviously, no surprise with Kyle McCord. But the fact that Michael Johnson Jr. and Carlos Del Rio Wilson coming out of fall camp are still neck and neck. Your thoughts on that these two guys, Fran was talking about the fight to be the backup quarterback, and the fight's still going on.
Yeah, and I think it's going to continue throughout the season. I don't think just because we break camp and this is locked in stone. But, Michael Johnson Jr., he came out of high school. He went to Penn State first, so he was highly recruited.
Yeah.
So I think he had some arm injury or something like that, some issues that he was working last year. And he kind of, went through the operation, and they gave him an opportunity. They say, hey, we're going to give you an opportunity to see how well you throw the ball. And, I guess his performance, it speaks for itself because he's right here on number 2 on the depth chart. So it's good that you can have some competition that pushes, maybe not pushing Kyle as much, but you still pushing each other in the quarterback room. You know what I'm saying? It's not, you want to just hand opportunities and say, yeah, you're going to be number 1, you're just going to be number 2. Up and down the depth chart, you want to see guys fighting for positions, and like Fran said, this is not the end. They're going to be competition throughout the whole season.
And my grandfather must be looking out for you both because you're both weigh 213, which is my number and Pop Cavino's number together. Running back, no surprise, LaQuint Allen Jr. back for his junior season. Yassine Willis is backing him up, the true freshman, or Will Nixon, who's a redshirt junior from Washington. Your thoughts on the fact that Yassine Willis, Will Nixon, we may be seeing all three of these guys. I'm going to imagine that LaQuint Allen, even though he may be the dominant and feature back, that we will absolutely see another guy. And Yassine Willis and Will Nixon, depending on how they play, this could be a chess move by Fran where maybe this game he says Yassine's going to go in because his skill set works for this. Against Stanford, let me throw in Will Nixon because he played in the Pac and he knows the Stanfords and the Cals already. So stuff like that.
Right, yeah. I didn't think about that. But, yeah, that is a good point. And, I don't think it's going to be like the last coaching staff where we just saw one running back and they gave them the leeway to say, yeah, take me out. I need a breather too. I think it's going to be intentional that they give these guys a certain number of reps and stuff like that. Even Fran talked about that with other parts of the team, that there's a certain amount they already kind of say in their mind that, hey, these guys are going to run these many plays. But and that's a good thing. I think these guys are still young and learning the game of football. And, it's kind of hard to give one guy the majority of snaps, and then you try to get somebody some experience behind them, and then you get to the end of the year and you're like, okay, this guy only got 10 carries, how's that benefit him all season just sitting there, and the other guy, just taking all the snaps. So I think it's going to be intentional that they work around and get all those guys in maybe different sub packages and get those guys on the field to, like you say, take advantage of maybe experience against another team in another league, that familiarity that's going to help them out to understand, this defense performs this way. So, hey, yeah, we can use this guy in this spot. So I want to see that too.
Yeah, and so we got some stuff coming in here. Adam said go Syracuse, victory tomorrow, easy victory. And then we got a message from Todd and Oleg's love child in this mug. Pigpen said, Arkansas fan here. Hope y'all boys get the dub like us last night. And best tight end room in the nation, said Todd and Oleg's love child. So One of the coolest names I've ever seen. I don't know who Todd No Leg are, but they had a love child.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
But I will say, talking about the tight ends, I would suggest, and those of you that are watching on YouTube, because that's where those messages just came from, make sure that when you're on there to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell. And on our YouTube channel, as well as our Facebook channel, both facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Make sure that you subscribe and make sure you follow and check out all of our videos that are on here, including our videos about everything that we have with the tight end room. I talked to Kyle McCord about the tight ends and his thoughts on them, and then also talked with him about the backup quarterbacks. And I spoke with Dan Villari about the tight end room. Interviewed Dan Villari in fall camp, David Clement, as well as obviously having Aronde Gadsden the second over the years that he's been on the show. So definitely got to check that out. So thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe and check out all of our videos. Those of you that are on YouTube, you could very easily access my videos, including on the tight end room, most recently with Dan Villari and Kyle McCord as well. Taking a look at the tight end and wide receiver, those weapons. Tight end Aronde Gadsden the second and Dan Villari are in the two deep. There's no Maximilian Mang or David Clement named there, but maybe could be seeing those guys. And then wide receiver, we have Zeed Haynes, who transferred in from Georgia as a redshirt freshman.
Yep.
So he's got an entire career. It's like he never went to Georgia. He's got 4 years here. Darrell Gill Jr. comes back. He's only a sophomore, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. It's
Well,
like a Benjamin Button or something like that. I don't know how
But
that.
he was one of those freshmen that's kind of surprised everybody last year and got on the field early. So, that's kudos to him.
Jackson Meeks is in, senior from Georgia, who came in with Zeed Haynes. Trevor Pena is back, and God willing, a full season. Emmanuel Ross is a true freshman. And then the guy that we have probably heard the name the most recently out of the most mouths is Umari Hatcher.
Yeah.
And we have heard about his name from coaches, from players. Umari Hatcher's name was the name that I probably heard more frequently than any other wide receiver name coming from the team itself. The media has talked about Zeed Haynes, but Umari Hatcher has been spoken about in a big way, and he is wearing number 5, which we know as, in my opinion, next to 44, it is the second biggest number in Syracuse football history.
Yeah, we need a sale for number 5,
Yeah. $5 something. $5 footlong, bring in Subway. Now, so I mean, there's a lot of weapons here at wide receiver for sure, and tight end, I'm including that in there.
Right, and then that's just scratching the surface. There's some names probably behind those that obviously this is the depth chart.
Justice Ross Simmons.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that's not on the list, but are more than capable of coming out and producing. So.
Well, and keep in mind that offensively, the player that has had the most starts the second most starts last season is Justice Ross Simmons. He had those starts with Colorado State, but in 2023 he had 12 starts. The only ones to have more are Jayonre Reed from the offensive line of Syracuse, who transferred in last year, as well as LaQuint Allen Jr. at running back, and Enrique Cruz Jr., who had 13 starts on the offensive line last year for the team. Speaking of offensive line, left tackle is going to be Demetrius Weatherspoon, who has transferred in as a redshirt junior. Behind him is Joshua Miller, redshirt freshman who came in, or Travion Mack, another redshirt freshman at left tackle. At left guard, we have Jacob Bradford, followed by Cody Hornsby or Lysander Moolo. And we have center Jayonre Reed, followed by Josh Alawa. Both of those guys come back from last year. Right guard, Mark Petrie, who's back, and Joe Cruz, who's back. And at right tackle, Savion Washington, who is 517 pounds, 8'5", largest man ever, makes Andre the Giant look like chump change, and he is wearing number 77. You can't miss him. I believe that the blimp will be able to see him with the dome closed. And then he's backed up by starter of last year at left tackle, Enrique Cruz Jr., who is a redshirt junior. or Travion Mack is a redshirt freshman. So Travion Mack is being put at the left tackle position as either the second or third guy, and the right tackle position as the second or third. Enrique Cruz told me that he was training at right and left tackle through this camp time to go into the season, and he is currently at right tackle, Demetrius Weatherspoon at left tackle, and Savion Washington starting at right tackle.
Yeah, I like it. I definitely like the improved size of the line. Just going to be a matter of how well they can sustain their blocks and, protect the quarterback, open up holes for the running back, but, when you got 300-pound young guys out there fighting every play, that's a good thing.
What?
Young boys.
And on the defensive side, we finally got 4 sets of hands in the dirt. If you know me, you know I like this better. Defensive end is Fidel Diggs with David Amapariola on one side behind him for one of the DN spots. And Oluwade Malade is his actual first name, as I told you before. And King Joseph Edwards is the or behind David Amapariola, the true freshman there for King Joseph. And I think that that's a lie. I think that's smoke and mirrors. I think that King Joseph is, maybe they're holding him a little bit, and then he's going to come up maybe 3 or 4 games in. At D tackle, Isaiah Hastings, new face there, or Murad Watson, or who's a true freshman, or Kevin Jobity Jr., who is a returning junior. And so at D tackle, nobody has truly taken that. That's an or there. And at the other D tackle position, it's the same. It's Tank Wilson as a redshirt senior, number 4, or Rashad Perry, who returns, or Elijah Fuentes Cundiff, who returns. So the D tackle position is not spoken for 1, 2, or 3 deep. And defensive end, the only thing we know about the defensive line is that one of the D ends is Fidel Diggs.
Right.
D tackle's wide open, the other D tackle's wide open, and at D end on the other side, Dennis Jaquez Jr. returns. He's a Jersey guy who was recruited by Fran originally. Chase Simmons is back as well, and Jahid Lassane Jr. is a true freshman, and none of these guys have clearly taken it. They all have an or that's here. So of the defensive line, which I consider to be a lot of guys, but also a big question mark, is that outside of Fidel Diggs, who is the guy that everyone's been focusing on, we have no concrete idea who's going to be the starter for the rest of the 3 positions of the D-line.
But I don't even take it like that. I take it as the oars are guys that going to play because even
he's going to use a rotation.
Yeah. I think the coaching staff has already talked about how much they're going to rotate on the defensive line
and the offensive line.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting to see when you rotate on the offensive line because you really don't see that much. No. You want those guys to have continuity, chemistry, You
usually rotate on the offensive line when they're not doing their job.
That or somebody gets nicked up in the game and you have to bring that guy in. But
D-line, it makes sense because you want to get as much pressure as possible.
Right, and keep people fresh throughout the game. So, and that could be a good thing. You see some oars out there where they got guys that, hey, we trust to put in these positions.
Who used to rotate? The last time I don't think it was in the depth chart under Schaefer like this, that there was all the oars. I think it was kind of just an unspoken thing. But Tim Doust was notorious for rotating the D-line.
Yeah.
Now there's 2 linebacker positions, no surprise. We have Marlo Wax Jr. at 1, Derek McDonald at the other, James Hurd, the redshirt freshman, backing up Marlo Wax, and Anwar Sparrow, who's back, has Derek McDonald backing up here. I said to Isaac in the last show, and I think they should still do this, I think Marlo needs to trade numbers with Clarence Lewis, and Marlo takes 3. So in the middle of the defense, we have 315. 315, which is the area code for Syracuse.
There you go.
But Marlo and Derek McDonald, I know there's less out there in a 4-2-5 at linebacker, but let's be real about something. 2 of the biggest returning leadership names are Marlo Wax Jr. and Derek McDonald, not just on defense, but in general.
Yeah. And we'll get to the next piece of that 5 bit. Well, you can bring another defensive back in that box. Yeah, it might be 2 linebackers, but all purposes. There's another DB that can come downfield the slot based on the offensive alignments and stuff like that.
And you can call him the star, you can call him a rover, but Justin Barron is Justin Barron.
Yeah, he's going to be that guy that's probably going to come down to be like that 3rd linebacker. So
And with all due respect, I believe that Justin Barron not only has dropped, he's limited his body fat, he has gained muscle. I also think he has grown.
Mm-hmm.
He's 6'4", and he's at the star position. The corners are newcomer Clarence Lewis, who is wearing number 3. He's a senior. On the other side, Marcellus Barnes or Devin Grant. And Marcellus is obviously a newcomer. And then at strong safety, Elijah Cinco Clark returns. And at other safety, we see the man on an island is no longer a corner. He is considered a free safety, could be a spy guy because he can play both positions. And that is number 0, Agent 0, who told me that him and his dad have been talking about it and they can't wait. First time he made a play as a freshman and the crowd yelled out, Deuce. He said he's been dreaming about it, thinking about it. Deuce Chestnut starting at free safety in his return to Syracuse after a short stint at LSU, which goes to show the grass isn't always greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it.
Yeah, there you go. And you know what? What I'm going to take interest in this game, Marcellus Barnes, we talked about him coming in, a highly touted freshman, earned that spot throughout camp in the spring. But as coaches do, I expect them to go after him a little bit, because he's the freshman.
Yeah.
We're going to see what he's
went
made
after
of.
Deuce.
Yeah, went out to Deuce. They went out to Williams, Garrett, everybody gets tested. So being
went
that
after Iffy.
Every time you got somebody opposite that senior cornerback, whoever's the young guy is going to probably get tested. So we're going to probably get a good taste of seeing how well he's earned that spot, which is a good thing. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be up for the challenge.
Yeah, very excited to see that. And on the specialty side of things for the depth chart, first depth chart of the season, Brady Denenberg is the place kicker. He is going to be out there putting that work in. He is backed up by Jackson Kennedy or Jaden O. Punter is Jack Stonehouse, backed up by Jackson Kennedy. And long snapper Tom Callahan, Ethan Stengel, or Jacob Zor is in the 2 position there. And then kick returner here is music to my ears. We have Trevor Pena or Malachi James as the first, and then LaQuint Allen or Will Nixon, which you see in the NFL is that they'll utilize the 3rd or 4th string running back in the kick return situation. And then punt return, Trevor Pena, LaQuint Allen, or Zeed Haynes. And I think that we're going to see some mix of Trevor Pena and Malachi James. I said at the very least, play him for 4 games, and then you can still redshirt him 4 games or less.
Right.
We talked about that. It gives him experience. It lets him get out there on the field against college football foes. It allows him to have some tape. It allows the coaches to see what he's doing right and what he can work on. But Fran said something interesting that piqued my interest from what I'm thinking, as it was like, well, if a guy, the coaching staff was talking, I don't know if it was Fran or James Milano, but it was like, if he's that good, how are we going to keep him off the field?
Right. And I think it was the special team coach. I mean, somebody with that kind of speed, he's already has a body of an upperclassman. It'd be like, I think he meant to say it'd be ridiculous to keep that type of talent off the field, And that's why I've told you so much about him over the summer, just watching the young man in his track meets and what he was doing in New Jersey. They even boast about it. He set the record for the state of New Jersey. So,
yeah.
But, you got to get with speed is everything in football. If you can get him out there and catch a gap or whatever the case may be, I enjoy Trevor because Trevor's fearless, and sometimes he's fielding punts back there. I'm like, okay, let's fair catch this. Come on, let's fair catch. And I give him credit. He won't fair catch, and then sometimes he can slip that. Because that's all it really is. If you can beat that first tackle, then everything can open up for you. So, and maybe like you said that with James, they might want to work him into that. Hey, punting is a little different from. Point returning is a little different from kick returning,
Yeah.
It's you basically solo back there.
Yeah.
With those 10 guys bearing down on you.
There's a new rule.
Yeah.
That nobody can move except for the kicker and the person returning. So when the kickoff happens, the kicker kicks the ball, and it has to be touched by someone on the return team before anybody can move on either side.
Really? Okay.
So it's weird. It kind of looks like everyone's frozen, and then they can start to move. So that's going to be interesting. Try to limit. Actually, that might be the NFL rule.
Yeah, I know the NFL is doing that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think college is doing that. So college football and NFL, the new kickoff rule. I just want to make sure. So must have their foot on the 35-yard line.
Yeah, NFL.
So yeah, the NFL is doing it. So,
but it won't be long. It'll probably
could be in college.
Yeah,
it
probably will be in college.
Reality of it all is, so my mistake on that. Reality of it all is when you have a kicker like Brady Denneberg, who's going into his third season, wearing number 15, when he has over 90% of his kickoffs going out the back of the end zone. He's not even giving you an option to do anything. So you are frozen in time because you're like this and the ball go right over your head. So,
exactly.
Yeah, so Brady Denneberg, shout out to him, over 90% effective on preventing you from returning the ball. I looking back at last season, I can say, I want to say like maybe twice in 12 games was the ball returnable.
Yeah. Yeah, and then especially when you got the dome, you don't have to worry about the outside atmosphere, playing with your kicks. So,
Yeah.
But I definitely would like to see them implement that rule in college because the kickers in college are going to have to get that skill for the next level. The next level now with NFL imposing that new rule, that kicker's going to need to know how to get that ball in the landing zone, not always kicking it out of, touchback. So,
and he's the only one that can move with the returner, which I think they just want more kickers to try and tackle the returners. They want to see some of these guys take you down. They want to see a Pat McAfee tackle as a kicker or a punter. So this game is coming up this Saturday, and it's going to be the first game of the season for Syracuse and for Ohio. And there's been some other games that have gone on. So let's take a look around the league before we give our score. So we know that yesterday's games, for those of you watching live, my prediction was that North Carolina would defeat Minnesota, and they did. I thought that, I'm trying to look at some of the others we had here.
Wake Forest.
So Wake Forest, there was a bunch of blowouts. So Missouri won 51-0 over Murray State. Utah over Southern Utah, 49-0. Kansas over Lindenwood, 48-3. NC State had a little bit of a test, but they won by 17, 38-21 over Western Carolina. Rutgers beat Howard 44-7. Wake Forest beat North Carolina A&T 45-13. UCF took down New Hampshire 57-3, and so on and so forth. I had North Dakota State, and so did Papa Joe, beating Colorado, and they almost did, 31-26.
Very good game.
And the majority of those points were scored by North Dakota State in the first half. So that's been something interesting here. But we're going to take a look at Saturday.
Yeah.
And
some good
some of these games. So Clemson and Georgia. So I've already done my picks for the week, and I'm going to echo them, but I'll share them with you all, and Isaac will share his. Clemson, Georgia, neutral ground. It's a home state game for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, not far from Clemson, though.
In Atlanta, Georgia, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the home of the Atlanta Falcons. Clemson and Georgia playing in the Aflac kickoff game, which is connected to the Peach Bowl Inc., which is connected to the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. So they do the bookends. It used to be called the Chick-fil-A kickoff game and is now, for the first time ever, the Aflac kickoff game. Clemson and Georgia. Who do you got?
Georgia.
Yeah, I'm also going with Georgia. So we're going with Georgia over Clemson for the both of us.
TNA.
Yeah, I'm going to say for TNA. I was going to write that, actually. So we're both going with Georgia over Clemson, ranked number 1 coming into this season. Penn State, ranked 8th in the country at West Virginia.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to give it to Penn State.
Yeah, I also have Penn State. I picked them over West Virginia. So we're both going to equal that out so we could put TNA here. And then looking at some of the other games that we have coming up, some of these games are just whatever.
Yeah.
But Miami at Florida.
Miami, Florida, yeah.
Miami's 19th in the nation. Florida is unranked. I don't know if Billy Napier makes it out of the first 7 or 8 games, depending on how they play.
I'm going to go with the conference. I'm going to go with Miami in this one.
Yeah, I'm actually going. I have Miami as well for my prediction. So we are snake eyes. Isaac and I don't know our picks. We haven't talked about it. So if they're the same. They're the same. And then outside of that, we're going to go down here to. I had a few more I wanted to hit, not those. And Notre Dame at Texas A&M.
Ooh, ooh. And what Notre Dame has your guy quarterback
Riley Leonard, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
And this is the first game with Mike Elko back with the Aggies. First game with him as the head coach because he was the D coordinator.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's coaching against his quarterback because Riley Leonard was at Duke, Mike Elko was at Duke, and then Riley Leonard and Mike Elko went in the transfer portal. You could do that as a coach and as an institution. So it's funny that this game, like you said, great point. This is featuring two successful Duke people, as Mike Elko, the former Duke head coach, did a great job at Duke for 2 years and is now back at Texas A&M. He was Jimbo Fisher's D coordinator. Now he's the head coach there. And Riley Leonard was the quarterback who chose between Duke and Syracuse in his final two. Came on a wake-up call, told me his choice, picked Duke. Some of y'all got nasty. Dan, why are you interviewing this guy? And I said, because he's my dude.
Yeah.
And Riley Leonard went and gained the starting job at Duke, wore number 13. Now he's at Notre Dame. So now we're going to see them go up against each other in this game. So Notre Dame, Riley Leonard, Texas A&M, Mike Elko, and Duke is not involved in the game at all, but they are in a way.
So Coach Roche's pupil, I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with Texas A&M.
I also have TAMU in this one.
Oh, really? Okay.
So Texas A&M over Notre Dame for Isaac and I, so we're equaling on that one.
I was guessing you were going to say Notre Dame for some reason.
Oh, that's funny. And just kidding. No, I don't think. I mean, and once again, coming into the season, why would Notre Dame? It's not a college football season if Notre Dame isn't ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're 7th. We'll see what happens here. They start in the top 10, so if they lose 3 games, they can stay in the top 25. And, I mean, hey, if they have a good season, then they have a good season.
Yeah,
but you got to put that work in. They get these top 10 rankings. Ohio State gets it. And like I tell people all the time, I mean, look at Michigan. Michigan's number 9. They don't have Jim Harbaugh anymore. They don't have J.G. McCarthy anymore. So USC at LSU, we have the battle of coaches that were elsewhere a few years ago. Lincoln Riley at USC, formerly of Oklahoma, and Brian Kelly, formerly of Notre Dame at LSU. What do we have for this one? Which is going to be played in Las Vegas, Nevada at Allegiant Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. So it is a neutral game because it's not going to be in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, and both teams got new starting quarterbacks because both of the quarterbacks went to the league from last year. So I was going to lean one way, then I had to think about it. Those guys were 1 and 2 in the draft.
You got Jaden, you got a Caleb Williams from USC, and then you have Jaden Daniels of LSU.
Right. So I'm going to say me and a friend of mine was talking about I think the quarterback was going to go to South Carolina, but ended up transferring to LSU once Daniels declared for the draft. So I'm going to go with LSU. I don't know what USC has coming back behind Caleb, so I'm going to say LSU.
I have LSU as well in this game. I went with Brian Kelly. I feel like LSU is going to have a good season. So I'm going LSU over USC. So we have been the same so far, not knowing each other's picks. We got 2 more to make. Boston College at Florida State. Florida State, I don't know, they must have mistaken them for a Big Ten or an SEC team because they lost and they stayed in the top 10. So in the rankings that we have, just see what I did there? I did it quick. I did it like, put it right in. So in the rankings here, we have Florida State. Well, actually, I don't think they updated the rankings.
They probably didn't.
So no,
they're probably going to wait the week 1's over with.
Yeah, so because it's considered week 0 still, so that's why they didn't update anything.
But it's still a loss.
Well, I will say this: if it was UCF, the rankings wouldn't have updated, but they would have dropped because we know how people respect certain over others. So taking a look at this, we have a look at BC at Florida State. It's a Monday night game, the only game on Labor Day. And that is going to be Boston College unranked at 10th ranked in the nation, Florida State, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. Interesting here is, and that's Eastern time, Interesting that Florida State's first 2 games of the 2024-25 season have ACC conference implications. One of them's already been a loss. Can't afford to lose 2.
I'm going to say they're going to lose 2.
Really?
That's my pick.
Oh, wow.
I think BC is going to stack the box and force DJ to use his arm. And if he have a repeat of what he did the first game,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think it's going to look too good.
Well,
and then I like BC's quarterback too,
Thomas Castellanos.
Yeah. So
who is a true dual threat quarterback?
Exactly. So if he can get out there and get a little bit of magic going,
yeah,
it can be interesting.
Thomas Castellanos, his numbers are good, except for his interceptions. He's got to limit those. But if you look at, I think he had overall 26 total touchdowns between passing touchdowns and rushing touchdowns last season. His number's really, really good. He had almost 1,000 yards on the ground. I think he had 957. So everything was good outside of the interceptions. He had 13.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think that's what's
first year as a starter, though.
Yeah, exactly. He earned that job probably halfway through last season. You know, they came in with other intentions, but he proved himself and earned the starting position last year. But what I was going to say is for Florida State, I think that's going to be the copycat of what defense is going to do now. They're going to make, hey, we're going to make you throw the ball.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we know.
I told you DJ was my big question mark, which is why I didn't go with the majority of the ACC media who voted Florida State 1. I voted Clemson 1. They voted when they put all of our votes together for the ACC, Clemson got 2, Florida State got 1 for the media as a whole. But I voted for Clemson over Florida State, and my 51% to 49% difference maker was Cade Klubnik, DJ Uyunglele. That was my difference.
Yeah, I agree.
And taking a look at this, by the way, folks, if you want to go to the Weber State at Washington game, you can go there for $41 less than getting a family meal discount at the Dome. It is $3 to go to the Weber State at Washington game. $3. So if the ticket to the game is $3, then they should just hand you the hot dog.
Exactly.
So $3. Is there anything less than that? Arizona hosting New Mexico for $9. Utah State hosting Robert Morris for $7. Houston Christian at SMU for $4. So the most, how about this? Abilene Christian at Texas Tech is $61. Notre Dame at Texas A&M is $147 at College Station. That might be the most expensive game of the week. I'm looking at it right now. Miami at Florida is $144. So they beat them by $3. So you can go to Miami at Florida and go to Weber State at Washington for the same price you can go to Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Last game we got to do is the Syracuse game, which we're here to talk about. Tickets are $13, my grandfather's lucky number. And Ohio at Syracuse, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. The over-under is 44.5 points. And Syracuse minus 17.5. Which is having Syracuse win by almost 3 touchdowns. So what do you got?
What do you want? Predictions or score?
Both.
I woke up this morning, so I thought about this one. So I'm going to say Syracuse 38, only because we probably won't show too much. Not to say we ain't capable of putting up more than that. Ohio 10. 38-10.
38-10.
Yeah.
So Isaac goes 38-10 Syracuse over Ohio in Fran Brown's coaching debut. I'm going to go 42.
Not 44?
No. I'm gonna go 42. I'm gonna do. Let me think here. I'm gonna do 42-13. Syracuse over Ohio.
Yeah. It was a toss-up. I was like, I think Ohio's capable of making 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, maybe, Syracuse defense might get a little stingy, might
Yeah.
hold them to just a touchdown and a field goal.
I was going to put them at 17.
Right, and I was thinking that too, maybe another touchdown and a field goal, but we'll see. We'll see how well the defense adjusts.
By the way, if they do what we're expecting them to do, we will see in my opinion, either Carlos Del Rio Wilson or Michael Johnson Jr. get some action early on in the season, which would be big. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, no, I'm totally agree with you. Maybe they can get some, get a good lead, and like you say, can get the back the
62 to nothing.
Well,
Somebody just wrote into us. Yeah.
But I think that team's as we went over their roster, they got some experienced guys. So if we put 62 to nothing on them, that's saying something about this season.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So we think they'll get around 40 points, 38, 42, somewhere around there, and hold them to 2 scores. Or 2 touchdowns or less is what Isaac and I have. Make sure you write in. If you're watching this on playback, still feel free to write into us. And, of course, you will find Tortora and Alford throughout the football season for Syracuse. You will find Wake Up Call Monday through Friday, weekly, worldwide, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And that is on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, they hop into the archives. These are all free and easy to get to. If you have CarPlay, you can plug us in to any one of these apps. And once you have Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on any one of these apps, you can literally, in your car, listen to us like we're on traditional radio. So we are your video, we are your radio. We're here on the internet. We give you a little bit of everything here on Wake Up Call and make it very easy to get us. Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And a big time thanks to our incredible partners, Carvel DeWitt, where I have my own Sunday, the DT Dolphin. It's not too far from the Dome, right at the end of Erie Boulevard. Go and get it today. It's an ode to the Lemoyne College Dolphins that are down the street from Carvel DeWitt. 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York, has my DT Dolphin mint chocolate chip ice cream, green for the Dolphins, hot fudge, whipped cream and a cherry, green and gold sprinkles for Lemoyne, and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream. The Wildcat Sports Pub, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Brian's Landing, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. Go visit them at the fair, and then go see them at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. They're all year-round store. And GG Cards and Breaks, Pizza Man, Great Lakes Honda City, Mother's Cupboard, where I have my own sandwich. Perfect for game day. Go out there for Syracuse taking on Ohio, and any day of the week, 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. daily. Mother's Cupboard, a staple of Syracuse, on 3709 James Street in Syracuse, has my breakfast sandwich exclusively called the Cuse McMother. And the Cuse McMother, bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Cut it up and have it with syrup, pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. And Servomation is redefining, reimagining, and recreating the world of vending. I wish places I worked and went to school had Servomation technology for vending and the quality of food and choices. Go to servomation.com to find out how you can involve them with your business, school, university, and college. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. Find out more at LeMoyneDolphins.com. Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. Find out more at syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And the Binghamton University Bearcats. Find out more at bubearcats.com. And as their exclusive partner, you will find our content with them on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Lemoyne, BSC Syracuse, and Binghamton playlists. You'll also find them on wakeupcalldt.com. As always, we appreciate you so very much, and I'm going to try to do it right this time. I'm going to say God bless, no stress, do your best now, and give Isaac the last word.
I'm going home and enjoy this smash burger and watching some football.